Today, I'm going to show you how to create a basic fanfiction colophon using Affinity Publisher 2 of Midnight Wolf vs. Abominable Snowman, a Teen Wolf fanfic hosted on AO3. When I like to work in Affinity Publisher, I like to make sure I have snapping and the preview mode on. To turn on snapping, you can just hit the magnet or hit the arrow and then enable snapping. To turn on preview mode, similarly, you can hit this little windshield wiper or hit Control-Shift-W on your keyboard. All the information that you're going to be placing on the colophon is available on AO3's fanfic information, which includes the title, the name, description, as well as the link, and all tags. On the right-hand side, I already have set up the information that I like to include on all my colophons, which, in addition to what I just stated, includes my typeset credit, any edits I made, my art credits, as well as a disclaimer for personal use only, since fanfiction should never be sold, and then a place to place the tags. Since I already have this stuff filled out, I'm going to save us some time and just paste that in. But this is where you can gather that information from AO3. I start at the top of the page because I'm not sure how everything will fit, and I plan to adjust at the end so that it's centered. First up, I'm going to add the tags by going to AO3 and highlighting the tags, hitting Control-C on my keyboard, returning to Affinity, and pasting that in using Control-V. As you can see, the spaces between tags were not copied. So I'm going to just insert a semicolon and a space, highlight and copy, and paste between every tag. The more tags you have, the longer this will take, but I still find it's pretty easy to go through because spell check highlights all of the squished words, so I know where the tags are separated. There we go. Next, I want to make sure I place my description text box. So I'm actually going to use the frame text tool for that. Now you notice something weird is happening. It's already selected because I'm already inside a frame text with this information. But I want to have this kind of act like a floating text box. So I'm going to go off to the left-hand side of my existing frame text and draw a new box in, just like that. Now I'm going to pop into AO3 and grab the description and paste it here. As you can see, it came in bold and it might come in a different size. So this is where you can just highlight and change your set to regular, adjust your font or your sizes. Now I'm going to go in and drag this into the center so it snaps to center, about in the center of the page. Now, I don't like that it's so skinny, and so I'm going to actually hold down the Control key and drag this edge. Since I'm holding Control, it actually changes both sides, so I won't have to recenter it again. I'm going to drag it till it's pretty close to the end, so I don't have any weird small last lines, just like that. Now, I want these brackets to go around it, so I'm going to utilize the pen tool for that. So when using the pen tool, you want to make sure your fill is set to nothing and your stroke is set to black or whatever color you prefer. You want to have your style set to a solid line style, and I personally like to use 2-point. And you're going to want your caps, well, you can choose, but I'm going to use a square cap so it's a sharp edge. Now I'm going to start drawing. I'm actually going to draw utilizing the margins. Because we have snapping on, I actually can click on the margin, hold Shift, which will allow me to stick to 90 or 45 degree lines, and I'm just going to drag out, click again. I'm going to move my mouse down while holding Shift, click again, and then move it back to the margin. As you can see, even if I move it up and down, since I'm holding Shift, it will come in at 90 degrees no matter what I do. So I'm going to click one more time. And now I know that it matches and it's in alignment. So I now have this line. I switched to the Move tool. You can also hit V on your keyboard to do that. I'm going to move it to the side and drag it in again while holding Control so that it's a good shape for me to put in my logos. Before I adjust the sides, I'm going to draw in my logo. Now I have this as an asset in the Assets panel, and I'm going to double click my asset to drag in my logo. If you don't have that, feel free to drag it in from your file folder. Once I've dragged it in, I'm going to move it to the center and space it to where I'd like it to be. And I'm going to do something very similar next with the QR code. First, I'm going to copy my URL that I already pasted in here. Make sure when you do this on AO3, you have your full work selected instead of just chapter by chapter. Chapter by chapter has a longer URL than the full work, so that's the one you're going to want to make sure you copy. Go to the rectangle tool and right click, and at the very bottom is your QR code tool. Select that and you'll be able to drag in a QR code just by hitting drag. Well, what just happened here? This is really thick compared to what it is on the left. That's because my stroke was still turned on. So I'm going to go up to stroke and actually hit no line style, and then I'm going to change my fill to black. And there you go. Next, I'm going to again center it on the page to make sure it's good spacing and release. Now it's time to adjust my brackets. First, I'm going to just drag it in so that it is centered and snapped to the middle of my logo on the top, and a good distance away, so I'm happy with that white spacing. Clicking on my bracket, I'm just going to drag this out to the right-hand side and then drag it up so that it again snaps to center, just how I like it. I'm going to do Control-C and Control-V to make a copy. Go up to the flip sections on the top and hit flip horizontal. Now, holding Shift, I'm going to just drag it to the left side to snap to that other margin. Now I have good brackets on either side with both my logo and QR code centered. Now, since I have an idea of how the page will look, I'm going to adjust the sides vertically. So I'm going to just hit enter a couple of times to bring this down, and I'm going to turn off preview mode so I can kind of see how it looks. It looks a little bit high. There's more white space at the bottom than the top, so I'm just going to press hold and drag and select the images I have at the bottom. I'm just going to hit the down arrow to slide it down to where I want it on the page. That's good. And then I'm going to double click in and hit enter a couple times. Perfect. I like where that's at. So, if you followed along, I hope you found this helpful to make a simple colophon for your fanfic typeset.